Hi everybody, my name is Dr. Vinod Samaretti. I'm going to go over a couple of things with you today about some movement patterns that you can assess to prevent some injuries. So we're going to start off by going over things involving your spine, your shoulders, your knees, your hips, and your ankles. They're pretty simple things you can do to identify an injury or potential for an injury. Number one, with your shoulders, just raise your arm up, forward, and bring it back down. If you raise your arm up forward around here and you start to feel a little pinching in your shoulder, you feel like it kind of hurts, especially if you kind of come closer to your head, you may have something called impingement. Basically the muscle in your shoulder is pinching against the top of the bone in your shoulder, and you don't want that to happen because that could lead to rotator cuff dysfunction. So you just want to keep that in mind. If you're not sure and you raise your right arm up and you notice that it feels a little funny, check your left arm and see how your left arm feels. Does it feel the same? So you always want to compare both sides. So that's how you check out the shoulder. For your spine, you can simply just start off by having your hand behind your back and lean back. If you lean back and feel some discomfort, you may want to actually do it a couple of times. If you lean back and feel some discomfort, you may have some irritation in your back. It could be some of the muscles, it could be some tightness in the front of your muscles here, but it's important to look at that because you may have a bad posture where you're leaning forward. By having a bad posture, you're going to strain the muscles in your back, and these muscles in your back help support an upright position. And they also help support the natural curve of your spine. So if your back is not straight, it's going to cause a lot of compensation in some of the lower muscles here in your hip, possibly down to your hamstring, and even up toward the middle part of your back. And you can find that a lot of times people who have weakness in their lower back muscles will also have tightness and pain or spasm in their back, upper back, and also in their lower legs. Typically you find that in people who have tight hamstrings. They have tight hamstrings because their hamstrings are really trying to support their back and their hips, their glute muscles, because these muscles aren't as strong for the activities they need to do. Another simple thing is reaching forward and touching your toes. From the side, it's looked like this. A lot of people do this activity and see that there's a tightness in their hamstring, and the hamstring tightness could be because of a simple hamstring tightness, but it also could be for some lower back weakness, and it also could be just from a lack of strength from some other muscles in your lower leg. So not having the ability to do a hamstring reach forward could indicate some tightness in your hamstring, but also may affect the way you walk and the way you bend forward. So it's important to keep that in mind. Another simple thing you can do is try to squat down with one leg. As I squat down with one leg, you'll notice that my knee's pointing forward. If your knee starts to dip in, turn inward, it could mean that there's some weakness in your hips. So your hip muscles may be weak on that side, and that's something to consider because your hips do help support your legs when you walk. So if these muscles right here are tight and are, not tight, but they're just weak, it'll allow for some more compensation in other places. But you don't want your hips to be weak, because as you come forward, this could cause a tracking of your patella or your kneecap. Another simple thing you can do to assess if your ankles are stable is simply just try to compare both sides of standing on one leg with your eyes open and your eyes closed. This is a bit of a balancing act, and it helps some people who have balance issues, but for somebody who doesn't, if you keep your eyes open and then keep them closed, and then compare your other side, you can see which side might need more balance work and might have a little more ankle instability. Some people, when they first do that, will say that they have, a wobbly feeling on both sides and it feels equal. But if you kind of do it a couple times and get used to it, you'll start to notice that one side may or may not be a little more affected by some instability. So there's some ankle exercises you can do. Similarly, if you want to do a single leg calf raise for your calf muscle, you'll also see that if one calf on the leg is weaker, it'll definitely be something to work on as well to make sure your calf is strong. Your calves being strong are important because they help in propulsion when you walk forward. So when you take a step forward, your calf muscle on that side is pushing your leg and your body forward. So to have good calf strength is very important in just general walking and running, and also as an indication of what other muscles above the calf, like in your knee and your hip, we're going to have to do more work to support a weakness on that calf. Those are some suggestions for you, just to check out your body and make sure that you have some stability and strengths in certain areas and some potential problems that might come up in the future for you. Hope that was helpful, and thanks for listening.